Well, howdy, 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 and welcome back once again to the Withlacoochee River Report, the report where you will be highly offended by my compelling rhetoric. Well, I've still got the RS at 1 running today, and with a special surprise here. We had a train sale today, or train show today, and you can see I got some boxcars and a caboose, and it's a Milwaukee Road caboose. And that kind of matches the train, don't it? Let's see that train go around again. Of course, I'm going to take you to the train through the magic of television. I'm going to take you through. And there was a little more to my haul today than just those items. I'd have been able to probably get more if my if my good friends at my that have my pay card best interest at heart would have been a little bit more attuned to my needs. And we'll get to that, but first we're just follow me through the intro and we will go right to the train show. And then I'll give you the lowdown on all of it. Okay, as you can see, I now have a Milwaukee Road caboose. Nice little bay window caboose. And what I really love about these MTH cabooses is that, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's Rail King or Premier. They are all scale. They're all full-scale cabooses, which I think is a wonderful thing. As you can see, if you get up close to it, you can see there's some scratches on it. I'll go through the spiel on that and what happened and how I ended up with that caboose. I've been looking for that caboose ever since I got the RS1. I got it from the same lady that I got the RS1 from, which, you know, I'm sure she's just going through her husband's stuff as she finds it, and that's how it's getting to the sales. And that's a normal thing, believe it or not. And then I got these 3 New Haven boxcars. They're not all the same number, but they're basically all the same car, which is fine. Enjoy that, because you will never see them run together like that again. You might see 2 together, but not likely. Maybe 1 per train. Okay, as you can see, just what I need, another railroad station. So now what have I got? 4 train stations. 3 of them are Lionel, and this one's Atlas. As you can see, if you look closely, you can see that this one is pretty much a glue bomb. And you can see it was not put together correctly. And so I'm going to have to take it apart. Hopefully this guy used that non-toxic glue that, you know, doesn't hold well. It looks like it's put together by a 5-year-old. But I only paid $5 for it. From another vendor, and from that same vendor I got the station from, I got this kit for Vinny's Grill, which is an old Ameritown kit, which is fine. He wanted a little much for it, but, well, a little bit of dickering, you know, and things will work out better, you know, it usually does. Then I got this one here. I guess it's supposed to be Metropolitan Jewelers. This is a building that was put out by MTH. It's one of their corner buildings. They also have an opposing corner building. And if I ever run into that guy again and have the money, I'll go ahead and probably buy that one. So, if he's still got it. I kind of look forward to it. Back to the story on the caboose. Now, finally, today, the show was absolutely full of buildings. O-scale buildings. There were people from one end of this show to the other that, you know, had O-scale buildings for a change. I thought, man, that is so cool. I couldn't afford any of them. Not really. But there were plenty of O-scale buildings. So the town of Brook Ridge will grow. Now, the story on the caboose. Like I said, I'd been kind of looking for any Milwaukee caboose. Because, as everyone knows, the Milwaukee painted all of their cabooses basically the same color that they painted their locomotives. Not exactly the same color scheme, but the orange was the same. So you know, I was just looking for a Milwaukee Road caboose, and while I was coming up and recognized that this lady was back, I thought, oh great, she's back. Let's see what she's got, because she tries to offer good, fair prices. She looks the stuff up online and prices it accordingly for a little less than what you would get it on, say, eBay. I think I hope she's doing well. Anyway, this guy, she was holding this caboose for this guy because I guess he wanted it. And then he noticed that there were some wear marks on there. He said, oh, those scratches. Oh, no, I can't take that. I'm thinking, and I'm standing right next to the guy while he's doing this. And I'm thinking, okay, he can't do that. I can do it, though. And she even offered to lower the price for him. And I thought, yeah, great. Now he's going to buy it, right? No, he didn't. And he wasn't even completely away from the table yet. And I said, hey, let me see that. And she handed it to me. And I said, yeah, I see what the problem is here. It looks more like wear marks from inside the box or something. Or it's worn against something. I said, but I'll cover that up with weathering. You know, you can't expect everything to be absolutely perfect. And it isn't. But that's the lowdown on the caboose. My friend Kevin was the one that sold me the 3 New Haven cars. I'd never seen him before because, like I said, he's going through his late father's collection and working on getting a bunch of that sold off. And I got those 3 cars at $15 a piece. I cannot complain about the price. Those cars, they had like $40. These particular cars look like they have Intermountain origins. They look exactly, they're much heavier than your typical Intermountain cars. You know, when Intermountain was putting them out, they're nice heavy cars. They track well, as you saw earlier. And, you know, they're going to look great once I get them weathered, just like I did those reefers. So we might do another Weathering 101 or series of Weathering 101 videos on those particular cars, and might even include the caboose so that it'll better match the engine. Yes. As far as the buildings go, I will do a video probably on building the Vinnie's grill kit. I'd like to put some kind of interior in it. I'm not really overly familiar with the Ameritown building kits. I've built one, and it's sitting right there. So I don't know how much detail is actually included. You know that I do paint my buildings. This one will get painted. This one needs to be taken apart, put back together properly, and repainted. So I'm hoping I can do that. I hope he did not use regular good plastic cement. I'm hoping he used the non-toxic stuff that doesn't stick. The building is fairly complete. But, well, what can I say? That's the Atlas station. And now I've got one for this railroad. All of my HO and N-scale railroads have had the Atlas station or an Atlas type station. But especially my HO layouts have all had an Atlas station. Never was able to afford it in O scale, but I've got it now. And I got it at a fairly good price. So be looking for a video on building this Ameritown Vinnie's grill, and that's from the inception. Would probably be a series of videos. I don't know that I necessarily need to paint this one. We may just go in and draw out the brick. And might paint the sides and back of the building, you know, because that would have been done with more red brick than anything. It wouldn't have been the front, the facade may, you know, the street side of the building, which has curb appeal, might have one color of bricks. But the alley side, no. The alley sides, never. Just ain't going to happen like that. So, let's watch the train go again. Shall we? Alrighty, let me get this beast started up. You gotta love that RS1. I know I do. Yeah, I still have a bunch of railroad cars that still need to be weathered, don't I? Now I have a few more. Make that one look more like that one, sort of thing.
Don't break on today.
Hey, that caboose even has a little dude sitting by the bay window, and it's got lights too. As do all of them. The next show, our next show will be at Dana's Railroad Supply on Deltona Boulevard in Spring Hill, Florida. I'm not sure which day it'll be on, but it'll be in October. We'll also, in October, we will have a regular model show, which will be any kind of models, like model airplanes, model cars, model ships, will be included. And that show is more for show. You're allowed to sell stuff there, but that one's more for show. That's usually where I like to show off my some of my model cars and stuff like that. And I think I'll do that this year instead of, you know, building railroad stuff. Until next time, happy railroading.